Hi, my name is Hannah Lynn Miller, and I'm obsessed with three things: fashion, therapy, and theology. And even though they may not seem to connect, this podcast is all about how those three things really do. Not only do they intersect, but you'll find that they are tools for helping you navigate hard things like the question of who am I, what is my purpose, and how do I change my life narrative? I have around 8 years of radio broadcasting experience, and I recently quit my Chicago radio job to start a media marketing business and finish my clinical mental health counseling degree. I live on the west side of Chicago with my cat, Karen, and my handsome pastor man husband, John Miller. We are going to get real, hang out, laugh, and talk about knowing and owning who you are created to be. Think of this as a place where you can chat about your favorite fashion trends and then ask hard questions about mental health, relationships, and your faith. So basically, we're going to cover all the things. Most importantly, that your identity is covered in what Jesus did on the cross for you. So let's get started. Hi, friends. I'm so glad that you are joining me on this next episode of You Are Covered. I'm Hannah Lynn Miller, and I am your host. We are going to get into it today. I have really learned how to change the way that I think about myself and about others, and I don't think that we have to keep two things separate. I think that they can totally go together. We need to be thinking and rewiring our brain with truth. And I do believe that the truth of the Bible and Scripture really is powerful for changing minds and thought patterns. And I also think that it's just a wonderful thing to be able to find within yourself and your thoughts and really understand who you are and be able to remind yourself when hard things happen, when people are not your biggest fan. Maybe you're going through a hard work environment and you need some self-talk. I don't think that this is different from reminding yourself of God's truth. I don't think that positive self-talk and God's truth has to be different. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about during this episode. I apologize. I don't know if you'll hear, but there's definitely sirens in the back. I am in my apartment on the west side of Chicago, my home. And so I apologize ahead of time if you hear any of that. We are going to also talk about how fashion can really help with positive self-talk, help you feel confident, and also what you wear plays out into your everyday life. There is a season in my life where confidence was very low. Speaking every day for a living on a major market radio show is very taxing. Every day you're on for 4 hours. And I didn't realize that every day when I came home, I was telling myself how bad I was doing at my job. So I had this narrative in my mind that I was thinking through every day of like, I could do better. I didn't do well today, and I said that word wrong, and I was picking it apart in my mind, and I realized that it's really hard to be confident and when you're constantly putting yourself out there. And so I don't know if you're in a situation like that. My situation's a little bit unique, but I can tell you that I know how it feels to just be so not confident and in telling yourself how bad you're doing. And it's just not a healthy place to be in. Today, I wish that I could give you Bible verses that talk about how amazing you are and how remarkable and smart you are, but I'm going to give you something better. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He knows every single part of you. And that's why I want to remind you that the perfectionism that you're struggling with, the things that where you're saying, I'm not enough, I'm not measuring up, those are things that are coming from other people. It's not from your Heavenly Father. I need you to hear this. So take a deep breath, God isn't telling you that you have to be perfect. He does desire that, but because of what Jesus Christ did on the cross for us, we don't have to be perfect. He actually knows how human we are. So take a deep breath. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." Yes, I want that kind of power, and it's not going to come from completely within us. I think that's the beauty of the gospel message, that our weaknesses, God can work with, right? It was really humbling coming home every day and feeling like I was beating up myself with my own thoughts. And I reminded myself constantly that God created me intentionally for a purpose and to glorify him at the end of the day, no matter how I messed up, no matter what words I said, no matter what attitude I had, what kind of mood I was in. And it's okay to have those limitations and weaknesses. That's where I started. So if you're feeling this today, where you feel like a failure, man, your job is tough, maybe a family member is giving you a hard time. I don't know your situation, but this was my situation. After I wrote down the facts that I have purpose, I am meant to glorify God, I am intentionally made, I had good things to say, that God gave me a mind for a reason. I have people in my life who love me. That's true. I'm safe. And those are things that I needed to remember when my mind would run into these like negative situations. So if you need a reminder of God's truth, start with the grace that Christ gave us, that his power really is made perfect in weakness. Next, write down the facts about your situation. So remember those things, and then put them somewhere where you'll remember it, like a mirror. I wrote down on my mirror, self-determination, not self-destruction. And I think that was so powerful just to be reminded of every day. And then I wrote down some Bible verses that reminded me that I was loved unconditionally, because I was putting that pressure on myself and it wasn't healthy, right? And it was just a short season, but it was definitely hard, especially with my job. So whatever it is that you need to remember, put that somewhere where you'll see it every day. Maybe a Bible verse that will remind you of your purpose, of your calling, of how you're intentionally made and created for this time and place in history. And remember that you are covered in his grace. Okay, I want you to try something. Sign up for my Inside Out newsletter. This is specifically for you. I do this for you guys. It's a weekly reminder in your inbox to encourage you to change your life narrative and be who you were created to be. Just because you listened to this episode, I wanted to provide you with a great takeaway. Since we're talking about confidence and positive self-talk, I put together a blog post with all of the Bible verses found in scripture about confidence. It's not the verses to make you feel amazing about yourself. It's so much better. These are the verses that will take you off the hook for being perfect, and that will consequently help you grow in your own confidence. Okay, so only you get the PDF printout of all those verses that I designed specifically for this podcast episode. Look in the show notes down below for the link, and be sure to print off the PDF to put it where you can be reminded that you're off the hook, perfectionism is no good, and you can actually live out your true self. Tell me where you post these verses, because I have them right above my desk. So I'm curious where you're going to put your reminders to be confident. I want to know. So if you could just take a picture, put it on your Instagram story, and then tag us, You Are Covered Podcast. That would be so fun. I would love that. So make sure you do that. Print off the PDF. Now back to the show. Many times we say we dress for the occasion, but what if we actually dress for our mood? Hey, I'm Hannah Lynn, and you're listening to the fashion portion of the You Are Covered podcast. This is the part where we go through fashion news, fashion studies. We'll even bring in some fashion psychology, all the things. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is going to change the way that you look at people and how they dress. Hands down. Hands down, I promise you. It is so interesting. This is going to be something that you can use to, not to like read people, but like to keep a lookout. Like, okay, what's actually going on? So-and-so is wearing black more, or so-and-so is wearing more baggy clothes, or so-and-so is just, keeping it casual. Like what's, maybe something changed. These are things to look out for, because I will get into like things that we can do to boost our mood by what we wear. That was like our first episode. But a lot of the times we're not consciously trying to boost our mood and use fashion as a self-care tool. Most of the time, fashion is a reflection of what's going on inside and what is showing outwardly. Okay? So this is a study conducted by a professor named Karen Pine. She authored a book called Flex, Do Something Different. She found that women choose to wear clothes that is heavily dependent on their emotional state. She said that 100 women were asked what they wore when feeling depressed, and more than half of them said jeans. Only a third of these women would wear jeans when they felt happy, which is really interesting. I don't know about you, but for me, jeans is like, they're just not super comfortable for me anymore. I'm so used to sweats and like, I don't know. Anyways, stretchy pants. In a low mood, a woman is also much more likely to wear a baggy top. 57% of the women said that they would wear a baggy top when depressed, yet a mere 2% would wear one when feeling happy. Women also revealed that they would be 10 times more likely to put on a favorite dress when they're happy, that was 62%, than when they're depressed, which was only 6%. The psychologist concluded that the strong link between clothing and mood state suggests we should put on clothes that we associate with happiness, even when feeling low. So this is something that I try to do, and this is something that I would encourage you to do, because naturally this study is showing us that our natural tendency is to put on what we think matches our mood. Like I definitely do this when I want to wear like something more baggy. It's typically because I'm stressed out, overwhelmed, tired, or I'm just like, I just need something to feel comfortable, So I totally fall into this category. But when we're feeling low, we put on a nice dress that we feel beautiful in, and it can definitely help. Professor Pine also said that this finding shows that clothing doesn't just influence others, it reflects and influences the wearer's mood too. Many of the women in this study felt that they could alter their mood by changing what they wore. This demonstrates the psychological power of clothing and how the right choices could influence a person's happiness. I so agree. I think here's the thing. Joy is something that we get from knowing Jesus. Clothing just adds to our happiness. Happiness comes from clothes. This study proves it. Okay, I'm going to continue. I'm being silly. Accessories can make a difference too. The study found that twice as many women said that they would wear a hat when happy than when they are feeling depressed. 5 times as many women said that they would wear their favorite shoes when happy. That's 31%, than when depressed. The study found that happy clothes, I love that. Happy clothes. I'm going to trademark that. That's so fun. Ones that made women feel good were well cut, figure enhancing, and made from bright and beautiful fabrics. Oh my Lanta, I so agree. what's wrong with me right now? Because beautiful and bright. Is a little bit hard for me. I definitely wear the black all the time. Interesting. What does that say about me? Professor Pine pointed out that these are exactly the features that jeans lack. Jeans don't look great on everyone. Sometimes they are cut poorly and badly fitting. It's really, and I think that's why when you find the perfect jeans, it's like so exciting. You're like, yes, I found the perfect pair of jeans. I'm wearing them forever, every day, because they can be harder to find that actually are well fitting. Jeans can signal that the wearer isn't bothered with their appearance, which is totally a look. The grunge look, I definitely love the grunge look, okay? People who are depressed often lose interest in how they look and don't wish to stand out. So the correlation between depression and wearing jeans is very understandable. And that's what this study is showing. I think that it's just an easy look. And so you definitely don't want to stand out. And so like, for me, my go-to would be like a white tee and some denim, It's easy, it's casual, and it's not sweatpants. So that's so interesting. Most importantly, this research suggests that we can dress for happiness, but that might mean ditching the jeans. Oh, man. I think that's a thing. Like fashion people, they're not always impressed with the denim. That's what this study proves to me, along with so much more. But I absolutely love this whole study. I think it's called like happiness. It's not in the jeans. That's what the study is called. You can read it for yourself. You can research it. But I read you basically the whole study, and so I love the points that are made in this, that you really can dress for happiness, but you naturally are going to go towards what is comfortable for you, especially if you're in a low mood. This uses depression a lot. And I think something to keep in mind when we talk about depression, there's definitely levels of it. And women tend to feel that emotion a lot more than men. The chemicals in our brain changes like every month. And then, you throw postpartum depression on top of that and all the things. It's just, it's hard to be a woman. Okay, can you tell I loved that study so much? Let's talk about self-talk. The messages you are telling yourself live in the unconscious part of your life. I felt like I was failing every single day, like I said earlier in this episode, at the tasks that I had to complete for my job and for school. Really, I think I was just on the brink of burnout, but what was going on in my head was really affecting how I was able to succeed at what I was doing at school and work and relationships, and it was affecting my mood. My husband actually pointed out, and he would say this phrase over and over again. And, we've only been married for about 4 years, almost 5. And I got to tell you, this is the stuff that makes marriage so worth it, because you realize stuff about yourself that you wouldn't realize otherwise, right? So like he would always say, you're so hard on yourself. I've never, ever had somebody make me aware of that, I guess. I never was aware that I might be hard on myself in my mind. And so he pointed it out. It was all from a conversation that I was having within my subconsciousness. I don't know where this came from. Maybe my parents, past teachers, 10 years of ballet dancing. That'll do it to you. Co-workers, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's my brain, my thoughts, and my choice and option to change. It's on me, right? And the Bible's so clear that we need to capture every thought and make it align with truth. And I would add the facts. The more I study our brains, the more that I'm amazed at how flexible and changing they can be. Dr. Caroline Leaf talks about this all the time. So our brains are the physical parts of our mind. So our mind and our thoughts, our beliefs and systems are the things that guide us and direct us in our lives. And both are able to change. So like the physical part of your brain, right? And then the more, I don't know, it's just like kind of out there part of your mind. It's the emotions, the beliefs, and the way that our thoughts kind of are put together, and it creates and affects the physical part of the mind, which is the brain. And she's actually, I think she's one of the first to talk about how the mind and the brain are different, which is so fascinating. I love hearing her talk. Half the time I don't really know what she's saying, and half the time I'm like, wow, that's life-changing. That's one of those life-changing things. Those two things are different. Your mind, your thoughts, beliefs, and systems are different from your physical brain, but your mind influences your brain. Both are very flexible and able to change. So before you reach burnout, can I please encourage you to take some time, jot down your thoughts when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, or like for me, I didn't even know that I was feeling this way. I just kept telling myself I'm tired. So it came out in exhaustion and not actually understanding this might be anxiety, and it might be coming from this perfectionism that you're putting on yourself that doesn't need to be there, right? What are you telling yourself? Where is this coming from? Now write down what you want the narrative to be from this point forward. So I did this recently. I have more space in my life. I'm not as tired. And so I'm like, I want this narrative of my life to change. Like I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I don't want to feel like I am constantly failing at everything I do. And it's not true. I looked at truth and I'm looking at facts. It's not true. And so I'm going to rewire my brain. I'm going to tell myself, I am actually a fantastic communicator. I am actually so good at helping friends. I'm really so helpful. I have so much love to give. Those thoughts will play out into your relationships, into your life, and it's what God desires for you. He wants you to be able to love people well. He wants you to be able to do your job well. He wants you to be able to feel that freedom. And if you are not thinking those right thoughts, you're not going to have that kind of freedom to live out your life and your true calling that God has ordained for you from the very beginning. So from my own personal story, I was amazed at how much confidence I could receive from just telling myself that I was doing a good job. No one changed. My past didn't change. My job experience didn't change. What people said or didn't say didn't change, but my thoughts changed. And I was able to go from working a pretty difficult job in radio to starting my own business with more motivation, more inspiration, more passion, and avoid getting burned out. I mean, I'm like 5 months into, when I record this, I'm 5 months into owning my own business, and I'm even more just excited and ready to go than before. And I really do think that it has to do with what you're telling yourself. And, earlier we were talking about how fashion affects your mood and how fashion and clothes, they do correlate with what you believe about yourself on that given day. And so maybe something that you need to do is to dress in a way that gives you more confidence, and write those powerful verses on your mirror. Give yourself reminders to help you through a hard season. I mean, we all go through something, and you know what? You'll come out, take it from experience. You'll come out of that experience and that journey stronger. You just might need to change your thoughts, your mind, your brain, and the narrative you're telling yourself. Thanks for listening and watching. Can you make sure that you are subscribed so I can see you again? Make sure you're subscribed to the You Are Covered podcast wherever you're listening or watching this show, and take some time to review it on iTunes. This goes such a long way. I know it takes like a few seconds to get there, but it really, really matters, and I would so appreciate it. It goes a long way, and it helps us build a community here in the digital space. So thanks so much ahead of time. As always, know that Jesus got you, girl, and you are covered. Be blessed.